right, all right. So this is how we're gonna start this episode off. Once again, we back with another episode of Check the Credits podcast, where basically, we show love, we pay homage, you know what I'm saying? We give props to people behind the scenes that work on a lot of the music that you love, from producers, engineers, songwriters, and pretty much just shed light, because today, the way, the climate of where everything is with streaming, sometimes we don't get to know or see those credits and see who did what and who's responsible for what. So we just want to share some light. And so on this episode, we got a producer who's worked with the likes of Cameron, Jim Jones, Lil Wayne, Jeezy, Rick Ross, K Slay, Canibus, Joel Ortiz, R.I.P. Fred the Godson, R.I.P. K Slay too. That's my guy. And just a lot of dope people. AZ, a lot of dope people over the years, man. And just want to give the props and credits again. Let y'all know to check the credits. We got my boy from the Heatmakerz, Rsonist in the building. What's going on, my brother?
I appreciate it, my brother. Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, indeed, man. And we always start out every show dropping, information on who you work with. But we want to tap in a little bit more as far as the credits, like what you actually did for these artists. So if you want to expound on some of those records you did for some of those guys.
Well, Diplomats as a whole, that's kind of how I got my, I guess you could call it big break. The first album, Diplomatic Immunity, I did 11 records. And then Joel's first album, From Me to You, I did 12 records. MOP, Lil Wayne, I did 2 records on the Carter 2. I've done a record for Beyonce, a record called Stop Sign. I've done Rick Ross was on his last album. I did a record on that. El Capo for Jim Jones, I produced everything. I executive produced it, plus I produced every record on there.
So
Wasted Talent, I executive produced for Jim Jones, and I also did 5 records on there. Joel Ortiz and Crooked Eye, their first. Matter of fact, all their projects I've done multiple records on. Joel Ortiz solo, I've done multiple records. R.I.P. Fred the Godson, like you said. K Slay, I had about, I want to say I did 3 records on K Slay's first official album release that he put out. I did 3 records on there. I've worked with Ghostface, Scarface, like you said, Jeezy, a bunch of people, man. Like it's too many to name, but I'm just happy that I could still be, somewhat relevant in the game today, man. So
that's a fact, brother, man. I mean, you work with, some of the greats. So you mentioned a little bit of your start. So was the Diplomats or Dipset, was that like your first major placement, or do you have history before that?
Actually, it was Canibus was my first major placement.
Wow.
But you got to remember when we did the record for Canibus, he was it was kind of like it was kind of tailing off, because when Canibus first came out, he was on fire.
Of course.
But then when the first album dropped, it didn't get the response that, because the album wasn't what it was supposed to be, to keep it all the way real.
Yeah.
And so by the time he got to his second album, which I was on, people had kind of lost their faith in Canibus a little bit. It had a little buzz, but it never got back to what he really was. So that's why I say Dipset was like my first real break, because we just kind of took off running. You know what I mean? Like Dipset, I can't even explain what it was like. It was different, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Quick question though, how did that come about? Like, how you had? I know y'all from the Bronx. They from Harlem. How did y'all connect? Yeah, how y'all connected? Especially with 11 joints.
Yeah, there was a guy by the name of Renee McLean.
I know Renee.
Renee, at the time, Renee was managing Cam. And we went to Renee for other reasons, not for Cam. I didn't even know he managed Cam at the time. We had this group, and we were trying to get their music on the radio, and Renee was that guy, because he had some he had some
promotion,
DJs
RPM, and he had the promotion.
Right, exactly. So we go to his office, and then at the time, like I said, we was getting some money. That's for a whole nother story. But me and my people, we were getting some like good money. So when we ran into Renee, he was like, "Yo, what do y'all do?" I said, "Yo, we produce." So he was like, "Yo, I manage Cam. Give me a CD." The CD I gave him, I want to say there's about 20 beats on there. 8 of those beats made it to Diplomatic Immunity, and then we did an extra 3.
Oh wow!
You know what I'm saying? So
that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. So the crazy part is, I actually hit up. I haven't spoken to Renee in years, but I hit him up the other day just to just to tell them thank you. Like, sometimes I
Yeah.
get in my feelings, man. I start thinking about things and I'm like, yo, certain people help me out. And I feel like, I want them to know. I don't want them to feel like I'm ungrateful. So I hit Renee up damn near 20 years later just to tell him thank you, man.
That's dope.
Again, shout out to everybody that helped craft the journey, man.
That's how I feel, man. Everybody played a part. You know what I mean? Everybody played a part to get us to where we at today. So it's all good. Some people, we still in good graces with some we not, but you know how that go. Um, so I always also I want to ask, like, what was I mean, you worked with a lot of people. So what was some of your dope studio experiences? Like, what are some like the most memorable, the ones you really like? Still to this day, you like, yo, that was dope. I can't believe we did that, or just the experience that you really feel.
One of my most memorable studio experiences really has nothing to do with music, right? Like, so
Hmm.
when Jim was doing Wasted Talent, originally Wasted Talent, I didn't have any records on Wasted Talent. Like Jim used to work out of my studio, but I was on the A side and Jim was on the B side, so we would kind of miss each other. So he was just making music until one day, God rest Fred the Godson. He was like, "Yo, you heard Jim's new album? It's just all right." So I said, "Nah, you got an album?" He said, "Yeah." So the next day I see Jim, I'm like, "Yo, I heard you got an album." I said, "How come I don't got nothing on there?" He was like, "Damn, nigga, I don't be seeing you." So I said, "Play it for me." So he played it for me. I said, "Yo, I got an idea, man. Let me make you some shit and send it to you." He was like, "Yo, you not Jim. Yo, fuck it, make it." So I said, "All
Yeah,
right, cool." I made this record called Once Upon a Time. I sent it to him that night because I was tight. I'm like, how the fuck Jim putting out an album? I don't got one record on there. So I made the record that night. And I remember I sent it to Jim. He didn't respond to me. And then next thing I know, I look on the gram. He's in Miami recording the record. He
dope.
puts it up on his gram and he's recording the record. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is the type of vibe that I personally want to get him on. You know what I mean? That high energy type of shit, the shit that people know us for.
Yeah.
So that turned like to answer your whole question. One day I walk into the studio and Jim had like this big notepad, huge notepad, where he wrote down all the names of the songs that was going on Wasted Talent. And
Yeah.
at this point, I'm about 4 or 5 records in with him on the new Wasted Talent that we're putting together because he took certain records off, put certain records on. And at the bottom of the paper, it said executive producers Jim Jones and the Heatmakerz. And
Mm.
that's the first time I've ever gotten credit for like executive production, and it meant something to me. You know what I mean? Even though I did 11 records on Diplomatic Community, 12 records on From Me to You.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
It was like that was a special moment for me because it was almost like I was getting my recognition after 20 plus
20
years.
years. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right, but I mean, again, it came at the right time because
Time.
I tell people all the time, I used to just make beats. I became a producer later in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, we all
where
started
I
that
didn't
way.
care.
Yeah.
Right, because some people, even to this day, they care about how good the beat is. Like I
Yeah.
want to make a dope beat too, don't get me wrong, but the artist fitting on the beat is more important to me than just making a great beat. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
So like I said, I feel like, around the time of Wasted Talent and Diplomatic Ties and El Capo, I feel like I really became a producer. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, I produced over the years, but like I feel like I'm really in my pocket right now. You know what I'm saying? And production wise.
Of course, man. That's why I always tell people, especially the more experience. This ain't like playing basketball, football, or boxing or something. You don't have to really be physically in shape to get sharper and keep growing. As you get, you know, you have more experiences, you learn more. All of that helps with the growth of your production, with your songwriter. All that makes you better with time. It's so when I hear people like you too old to do this or too old to make music, I'm like that don't really make sense when it
Yeah,
comes to music. Like
they thinking about their own, you know what I mean, their own limitations.
exactly.
This isn't like
Exactly.
you said. This isn't a physical sport. I can
Yeah.
understand if we playing football and I'm 45, you like, damn, nigga, you too old. Then you got a point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
this is music. Like the producer
Uh,
has no face at the end of the day. When you hear a beat come out, you don't know if the dude is 85 or 18. You don't
exactly,
know. It's just
exactly.
who was on that vibe that day.
Word, word, word. Um, I know a lot and a good majority of your production is sample based. You know what I mean? Um, what do you prefer? Do you prefer digging through the crates and getting the samples, original music? Like what's your preference?
It depends what the situation calls for. Like a lot of people think all I do is sample, but I don't. Like I'm so seasoned with it now, I can make it feel like a sample and it's not. Because I know what my sound is, and I don't stray away from my sound. So I know people still want that soulful sample feel, so I can give them that without sampling. It just depends on, like the other day I did a Sony hit me up about doing a ladies FIFA commercial, right? Obviously I can't sample. So I put a couple different things together, sent it to them, they loved it. So it's for me it's just about just delivering for what the circumstance calls for. You know what I'm saying? If
Yeah,
it's a sample, I'm gonna do that. If it's not I mean, obviously, I love the sample because I came up on that.
yeah,
But again, now I'm a producer, so I look at things different. I just look at it like, okay, cool. I can get the same feeling across without sampling. It might take me a little longer, but at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta do that.
yeah. Okay. And so I remember the time, like, when, like you're saying, that during the whole diplomatic immunity, just the whole Dipset era with the production y'all was doing. I think something that you did that doesn't get a lot of, it's not really recognized in my opinion. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I feel like you guys were the first ones musically and sonically to bridge the gap between the East Coast and Southern bounce, where it still was like, you got I can't even say that's Southern. When Biggie did it with Bone Thugs, it was kind of like it was a
Yeah,
bounce,
but it
but it
was it
wasn't.
was it was. Let me tell you why I think it's different, man. I'm happy that you said that because sometimes I'll say this in a conversation with other producers, and they'll look at me like I'm bugging.
Nah,
I feel like I feel like I helped to influence trap. And I'm gonna tell you why I say
one
that.
thousand percent, one thousand
Listen
percent.
to If you listen to Postman by Jewels, this is before trap music was out, right?
Yeah,
Let, Keep in mind the bounce on that. Wait a minute, Mister.
yep,
That's trap without the
yeah,
808s. You
yep,
understand? So
yep,
I'm saying all that to say it's not coincidental that trap rose from the ashes around that time.
yeah,
Because that's the type you think about Killer Cam. Like like not saying just me. I don't want to take the credit for it, but when music was in the 90 BPMs, 95 BPMs, I was doing Dipset records that was 75 BPMs.
yep,
Fucking some of them was 69. I was doing
yeah. Cause
some
you double
like
timing it. Yeah,
outlandish shit.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? With people looking at me like, how the fuck they rap to that? But to me, like think about the Tempo One trap. What is it like 6130,
yeah.
65? You know
So
what I
when
mean?
you,
Like
yeah, when you flip that, when you double time it, that's what it
yeah,
is.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying to you. So now and remember how I used to do my hi hats. My hi hats was like that.
signature. Yep.
Right. So I'm saying all that to say I know I had a hand in that somehow. They won't give me credit for it, cool. But the people that know. You know what I'm
Yeah, no,
saying?
that's a fact. That's definitely a fact, bro. And I think that kind of made it a lot. Again, made it easier to bridge the gap. And as the internet exploded and music no longer became like, we came up, it was songs that were regional. Even if they were big, it was just like I would go down south and hear certain music. You go to New York, you go to Cali, you hear different music and vibes. But when the internet came, it kind of like leveled the playing field because you getting everything at the same time. Yeah, and infused everything. So I feel like y'all was definitely like, the ones to kind of start and bridge that. And it's not
And big shout
recognized
to
enough.
Cam, but I gotta shout out Cam because you gotta remember Cam was in Ohio. Cam was in different places with Dipset music. You know what I'm saying? So like we were getting love from places that the average New York rapper never got love from. To this day is still like that. I like it sounds weird. Like I got a huge fan base in fucking Africa. I got a huge fan base in Germany. Like and it bugs me out because I've never been to Germany. I've never been to Africa. So for people to hit me from different countries to just show love is different, man. It's different.
Nah, nah, that's a fact, bro. Um, so I know you in this day and age, just a lot of. Well, let me bring something back real quick. So when I saw a clip not too long ago. It was like a promo clip, and Jim Jones was like, "Heatmakerz is plural." But you know what I'm saying. But shouting you out like, "Yo," but his Rsonist making those beats. So I do remember at a time earlier on, it was. I don't know if it was 3, 4. I don't know how many of y'all it was. Was
Yeah,
it?
it was
Was it?
about I think it took like Heatmakers was two people that made beats up until 2007, right? My partner, big
Okay.
shout out to my partner Thriller. We still cool. Thriller doesn't really make music no more. He had moved on to like real estate stuff and things like that.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, there was me and Thriller up until 2007. After that, it's just been me. So anything
Okay.
you've heard after 2007, it was Arsonist by himself.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. And so I bring that up to say, today you see a lot of producer collaborations, a lot, especially amongst the younger guys. Is that something like? Are you open to that, or do you like, yo, I can handle it, I got it? Or are you a person that's like, if it called for collaborating, you'd be open to collaborating?
Nah, I'm good on that, man. Because I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Like making music is something personal. You understand? Like if like I don't make music based on the projects I'm doing. I make music based on how I feel when I walk into the studio.
Got you.
You understand? So if I walk into the studio, I'm having one of the worst days of my life and I want to make something painful. And now I'm collaborating with a guy who's having the best day of his life and he wants to take us to the club.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
Nah.
You understand? And to me, it's like I'm a fan of other producers. So like I don't want to hear Timbaland collaborate with Pharrell. I don't want to hear you understand? Like
Yeah.
certain things to me should just be left the way they are. Like
Got you.
the music industry right now, the crazy part about it is they feel like, yo, why hasn't Pharrell done a record with Wu Tang? Yo, why? It's like certain things shouldn't be done. You understand? Like certain things you
Yeah.
leave alone. It's like that doesn't call
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You know what it is too, man. A lot of people are collaborating to get placements.
I was just about to say, I think it's more so of that, yeah. Yeah, it's
Of
more
course,
so of
that's
that
what it
now.
is. Now,
Yeah.
now here's the question they don't ask themselves. You got three people collaborating on one beat. There might be a sample in the mix somewhere. So now you get the record placed with uh, ain't name anybody with Future. So now you
Yeah.
got a record placed with Future that the sample's gonna take what it take. Now you gotta bust it down amongst three niggas. It's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, are we? You
Yeah,
understand? Like, you want the placement that bad? I can't do
yeah.
that. That's not my thing.
Yeah, we were just talking about this the other day in the studio. It's like, yo, it's certain records that got like 30 collaborators, 20 collaborators. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. And it's
Let
not
me tell you something.
necessary.
I was, and I'll tell you this off air, but I'll just say this on air, right? I was a part of a Kanye record that had so many co-producers. I told them to take me off of it. And niggas think I'm bugging. They like, yo, you don't even want that plaque? No, I don't want none of that because the final
Yeah.
record sounded nothing like what I gave to you. So I'm not gonna take
Wow.
credit for somebody else's work. That's not my work. Like, take my name off of
Yeah.
that. And when I tell you off air what record is, you're gonna be like, yo, you're bugging. But I'm different when it comes to like perfect example. This is how I look at music, right? I look at music like when archaeologists when they find dinosaur bones and they study them, then they tell you what type of dinosaur this was. That's what our music is gonna be. You understand? So when I'm
Facts.
long gone and they listen to my music, I don't want it convoluted with 20 other producers. It was me. So when you listen to it, you know exactly what I was about, what I liked, what I didn't like. You know me by my music because my music isn't tainted with nobody else. You understand? So I look at it from that level.
Yeah, I always felt like even when you talk about like again, you have a signature sound. You know what I mean? So when you look at producers who have signature sounds, whether they use people to help come up with that sound or not, you know what I mean, necessarily like musicians, what have you, I still feel like they hone in on that sound and that's what it is. So it's not necessary to kind of have to put a whole, a collection of multiple different people, especially people that ain't even on the same page, like you just said. If you're a part of a camp, like you saying, I started out in the production team, so it was a few of us. But a lot of times we individually did our beats. We might have had one guy sprinkle something here or sprinkle something there, but
Let me tell you something. When I worked with Thriller, we never made beats together. He made his, I made mine. He might have put a bass line on mine, or I might have put a bass line, but simple shit. You understand? Because I didn't want to taint the feel he had. He didn't want to taint the feel that I had. So we worked individually. You know what I'm saying? Which worked out for the
yeah.
best.
Yeah, I think that's a better way, and I think that's kind of how you keep a sound. Today's music, it's ironic with so many people collaborating, and all the music sounds the same. That's crazy to me, right? You got 30 niggas on one beat, but damn near every beat sound the same.
Nobody wants to step on the other guy's toes. Like nobody wants to be the alpha male in the room and say, "Yo,
Yeah,
listen, that's corny. We're not doing that." Like, you understand? Because what happens is
yeah.
if you're in a room with five people and four out of the five except you, everybody else except you is going crazy over this melody somebody played, but you don't like it, you might go along with it because you
I'm with
kind of
it.
like, maybe I'm bugging.
Yeah,
Everybody else think
yeah,
it's fire. And if you say something,
yeah,
you don't want to feel like the hater, like, yo, look at this dude, and you don't like shit. I'm picky
Yeah.
when it comes to music, so it's hard for me to work with other people and get exactly what I like. You know what I'm saying? For me. But some people don't understand it. They look at it like, oh, he on his shit. He don't want to. Nah, I've never been about that. Like Jim,
Yeah.
quick story. So Jim hits me one day and he's like, yo, I got my man. He wants to, he been wanting to work with you. He's from Atlanta. So I'm like, I bet, give him my number. So the dude calls me. The first line out of the dude's mouth is, yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, Jim told me you hard to work with, but you know, and I'm just like, I realize what it is though. Jim feels like I'm hard to work with sometimes because I speak my piece. Like
As
if
you
I don't like
should.
something that he might say, I might disagree. And he does the same thing with me, obviously, but I feel like that's why we make great music because neither one of us fold. It's kind of like, all right, he want to do that, I want to do this. Whoever makes the most sense, that's who's gonna win. It's not
Exactly.
about yo, you Jim, I'm gonna let you keep that, or it's not about your arsonist, I'm gonna let you. Nah, it's like we both have the same mission for the best record.
That's the end result. Yeah, and I was talking about that with somebody too. How and you know, I definitely kind of would know your take on this, but working in a studio versus sending beats to people and not being a part of the process is like when you remove us and you say, okay, I'm just gonna take your beat and I'm gonna add this other producer or I'm gonna do this. I think that kind of hurts the overall goal. If the goal is to make the best record, why wouldn't you want the person who gave you something that gave you the foundation of what you're even gonna make a song off of not to be a part of the finished product? Like that makes no sense.
I'm gonna tell you how strongly I feel about that is that we were, I want to say 95% done with El Capo, and Jim hit me like, yo, this other producer sent a beat and he wants to put it on there. And I'm like, yo, Jim, I'll scrap this whole album. And be like, we're not doing that. I feel like I just made a masterpiece with you, and now you're gonna say like, you understand now?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
other producer who it was, I think he's a dope producer, but for me, it's like, nah, like, or I had a vision with this, and I'm almost complete. You know what I mean? That's like I'm painting a picture, and then somebody comes by and just throws a paint stroke across the. Like, nah, we're not doing that. This is like that was like El Capo was personal to me, and I couldn't really have another producer try to, throw his vibe in there. Wouldn't work.
I get that, man. And so I watch you, follow you on Instagram. Still on the NPC. So my question I ask, my nerd question I always ask is, what's your software versus hardware? Where you stand?
Um, when it comes to like a like sequencer beat machine type of thing, hardware for me. You know what I'm saying? But of course, like I remember the days of having like a rack full of like different sound modules. I don't miss that. So software in that sense, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to VST, software for a fact. Like matter of fact, before I got on this, I was just downloading some new plugins I just bought. So definitely software when it comes to that. But as far as me making a beat and hitting the pads, I gotta physically be able to touch the pads to get the vibe that I want. You know what I'm saying? I can make a beat and place the drums and shit like that, but it don't give me the same feel as hitting the pads and choosing the next sound and uploading the sounds into the pad. And it's just a feel that I've been accustomed to for the last 20 years, and it's hard for me to break that. You know what I'm saying? But the other things I've updated as far as like, like I said, the different, sound modules and plugins, I definitely prefer software in that case.
Got you, man. And so what do you prefer since you've been around? I mean, you've been around for a minute, so you've experienced the highs of the major label experience, but you also working with artists like you're saying with Jim and Fred and different people who are kind of ran the lines of the independent scene. What do you prefer on that side, the major or the independent? Like,
I'm gonna tell you what I found out yesterday, and this might make it so that you never ask that question to anybody, right? Nobody's independent, man. They could lie to you and tell you they are. Not one artist out here is independent. I'm gonna tell you why. There's about what, three major labels left?
yeah,
About that? All of them own a majority stake in all of these streaming platforms. So Universal has 60% of Spotify. Fucking this other label has 70% of Apple Music. You understand? What I'm trying to say to you is we're not independent. We might think we are, but we're not. Every record that we put out, whether it's from our bedroom or not, Universal's getting a piece, uh Interscope is getting a piece. Whoever, you understand, all the labels that's left, Atlantic is getting a piece because they all bought into these streaming platforms the way we push our music. So if they own that, do you think they're gonna give us the advantage to beat their artists? Of course not. So right. So my answer to that question is you might, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them at this point, because if you're looking for the 200, 300, 400 playlist after you put your song out, it's hard to do it independent. You need that label that controls this platform to say, all right, cool. You know what? Show this record some love. He's with us now. Because that's essentially what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he part of the team. Show him love.
Yeah, that's when they push the button, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. I've given up that whole. Not saying independent mind frame. I still have the independent mind frame, but I've given up that chase for like we're gonna do this independent and we're gonna maximize everything. It don't work like that. Like me and Jim being able to catch over 100 million streams on El Capo is like lightning in a bottle. That wasn't supposed to
Yeah, that's
happen. We didn't have any major label behind us. But here's the other side. Imagine if we did what that album does.
what exactly.
You understand? Like we don't get me wrong, we did really well on El Capo. You know what I'm saying? But imagine if there was a Atlantic or a Universal Records behind it to say, all right, cool. You guys sold 100,000 copies by yourself. Imagine if we took over.
Yeah.
We talking about 2, 3 million. You
Easy.
understand? It's a difference. Let me tell you something. What I just told you fucked me up for weeks, man. Like when I really started to digest the information that I just told you,
Yeah.
we we're in a worse position now than we were when there were physical copies on the shelf. Like let that digest for a minute. We're in a worse situation now. We don't even know the price of music. It changes up depending on the platform. So what's the real price of a song? Nobody knows. It's whatever they feel like making it. And nobody questions this shit. Nobody. It's just kind of like one of those things that it's like it's happening. Everybody else cool with it, so I guess I got to be cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's like for me it's like it's kind of weird. Sometimes I look at it from that perspective like it's bad, but I think the opportunity and the options that people have now it's a lot better when you understand it.
The only to me, here's the bright side. We have access to the world in the palm of our hand with our phone, right? So if we put out a song, we can get it all across, at least what we think, all across the world within a matter of minutes, right? That's the upside. But the flip side of it is, if I'm doing millions of streams, hundreds of millions of streams, and the money don't really add up the way that it's supposed. Not saying that the money's not good. The money's cool, but at the end of the day, I know it's more than that, because how does Spotify get paid? Spotify gets paid from advertisements. Advertisers pay more depending on the traffic. The traffic is driven by the music, right? So if your advertisement dollars go up, shouldn't your payment for the music be more that's driving the advertisement dollars? But that doesn't happen. That's where I'm saying the problem is that the thing that you're using to make money, when it makes you money, you don't put more money back into that thing. You just keep taking from that thing. Like our percentage per play hasn't raised in years.
Yeah, but I feel like that's even before we had it. Like the royalty rates and the percentages were the same way. We was kind of confined to set numbers. They didn't really. It was better. I think the concept to people because you can physically see it. So I think it makes more sense in that sense
But
to
the
people.
numbers were fixed. That's the difference. You
Hmm.
understand? Like a CD was 10.99, 13.99, whatever it was. The number was fixed. So we know, okay, cool. If I sold 1 million copies at $10 a piece, 10 million. We know that. Now we don't know anymore. Now we got to take their word for it.
But even then, even in that time period, based on how your deal was structured, you could think it was going to be that simple math, but it was never that. It was never been that simple math
No,
because they've
because
always
back
been
then,
able
don't
to
get me
figure.
wrong.
Yeah, they've always been able to finagle it.
I was saying percentage wise, we were getting jerked. It might be like a 88-12 split back then, 88 for the label, right?
Mm.
But now we get 90-10. But how does one streaming platform pay you this amount? another one pays you this amount, and then the third one pays you. Like, how does that work? That my music is worth something different from platform to platform. I've never understood that. It's the same
Yeah,
song.
yeah, no, I'm saying they've always had a way to gauge it to keep it, like for years. Remember the thing was publishing. Once people start to figure out and understand publishing, now it's like they don't care about publishing. Now you hear the conversation of masters. Now you hear the
Right.
conversation of independence. So I think they've always, because it's their industry. We don't own it, we don't control it. So we're never really gonna be able. I mean, that's the world we in. So we never really gonna be able to do it. It's just like figuring out what works the best for you. So if you can go in. And I believe the end goal still is to partner with a major. I think anybody that doesn't
Right.
have that as their end goal is crazy, because you can make way more money being a part of a corporate,
Right. And
situation. And
now you're into their little secret shit. You understand? It's like
yeah,
now they'll teach you all the secret shit, like how to get on these playlists, how to stay relevant for this amount of years. It's just like you look at Cash Money. They've had
yeah,
their partnership with Universal for the longest, and it works out for them. They've made
yeah,
Universal billions. Universal is giving them back billions. It's like it
yeah,
works.
yeah. So that's why I say I don't, I'm not a. Oh, you got to stay independent to the end. I tell even independent artists I work with and I help them, I try to give them a lot of game and information, but I tell them they all say, can you stay independent forever? And they'll point out, Tech Nine or somebody. I'm like, yeah, that's a rarity, bro. That's not
That's an
common. Like
anomaly, man.
you're
That's
never
an
gonna
anomaly.
see, like, you just name one person. You can't name 20 of those. You can't name five. You can't name five of them, to be honest. That's at that level
Right.
of success and can
And
maintain.
all
So
Tech Nine adopted the methods of a label. He hired the right people for the right
people,
jobs. That's all
yeah,
labels do. They outsource.
yeah,
A label's
especially
just a
now.
big company that outsources.
Yeah, they have systems in place. They have the capital, and
Right.
they've been around forever. So they got radio on Smash. They got the playlist on Smash. They got everything.
Yeah, because
Media. They
they
have the
own it.
partnerships, the brands. Yeah, so they control it. So of
Yeah,
course,
they own it, man. We
So when
don't.
I hear, yeah, when I hear people with the whole I'm a independent, I get it. I'm for that. I understand it. But I know the end goal in anything is you want to make the most money you can. So and the
But
only way
here,
to make
here,
the most money you can is to ultimately partner with people who have the resources to make you more money.
right. And even if you had the money, right? What I just said, independence doesn't exist in the music game. We've been led to believe that it does, but it doesn't. They own the shit that we think is independent. How can we be independent if they own the shit that we play our music through? You understand? That means that if they don't fuck with you, they can say, you know what? Mute his shit, silence him a little bit on this site. Don't show him no love. Like, make it hard for people to find him in the algorithm. They can do all of that. So how can you truly say you're independent when you're at the mercy of these labels anyway? Nobody. So what I figured out in the last month and a half is that there is no such thing as independence. We all still working for these labels, whether we like it or not.
Facts.
Sad to
When
say,
you
but
when
that's the
you
truth.
yeah. Is it just like you're just doing what you want to do? It's not like you're conforming to anything necessarily. Like,
Yeah,
are you
1,000,000%. I've adopted the method of just like working, and then when you make good enough shit, people come to you.
got you?
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when you chase people, they run faster. But when you stay and you do your thing, you perfect your craft, they kind of watch you from afar and they like, oh shit, like, you know what, yo, I gotta work with homeboy. I forgot about that. He nice, and it's just always like that because I know myself. I like to notice people as opposed to them trying to sell themselves to me. Like, yo, listen, I'm nice, I do this, I do that. It's like, if you're everything you say you are, I'm gonna hear that and I'll know that without you having to say anything. When you sell yourself to people, man, you gotta deliver in the craziest way. Cause my expectations are through the roof. If you say you're the nicest ever, you gotta prove that to me now. Now my
Yeah, nah,
expectations is up. You know what I'm
nah.
saying?
That's a
So I just tell anybody, stay away from that shit, man. If you good, do what you do and people will notice. You don't gotta sell yourself like that, like, yo, I'm the best shit ever. If you work with me, this is gonna happen for your life. Like, I get it. I heard it a million times. You're gonna change my life, my grandkids' life, my great grand. Like, you're just the best rapper alive. I get it.
God.
People don't understand that you've heard that story a million times.
Come on, bro. So also, I've never really. I know y'all did a lot of production for people, and I know even with the Dipsets kind of in house. Have you ever considered starting your own necessarily label production company in the sense of like putting out artists and and furnishing their services, the labels, or different things of that nature?
I've gotten multiple artist deals that I worked with. I don't really like. See, here's the thing, man. It's like signing an artist is and I'm sure you know this, man. Signing
Yeah.
an artist is like you signing on to be a father, a
Yes.
brother, uncle, a fucking a bank. You understand? It's a
Everything.
lot of shit.
Yeah.
So right, and then if they're not the type of person that's built to handle all of this shit, then it's like you're building up something that's gonna crumble in a second. So for me, I gotta really know you as an artist now if I'm gonna try to either do work. Not when I say do work with you, I mean like on a long-term basis. I gotta
Yeah.
know that outside of being talented, you're just a solid person. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because most of the talented people I've met, that's cool. Talent is one thing, man. But if you're not a solid individual, it don't really nothing else don't mean nothing. Because I
Nah,
could get you to the point where you're gonna get a deal. This person, likes your music, loves your music, whatever the case is, and then you could just be a dickhead. So all our work went to, you understand, which has happened to me
yeah.
on several occasions. It's like everybody's cool when they don't got no money in their pocket.
Ooh, ain't
Everybody,
that so? Ain't
everybody
that
could be.
so?
Let me tell you something. Two broke niggas could be best friends forever because they don't need shit from each other. The minute one nigga get another dollar that the other nigga don't have, that's when you start to see who's who. So I'm saying all that to say with these artists, when they didn't have shit, they were the best people on planet Earth, right? But the minute that you put them in a situation where they feel like this person loves them, this person want to give them a deal, something clicks in their brain that like I don't really need this dude. Like I'm where I wanted to be. Like he's just extra baggage at this point, and I can't be around those type of people because I've learned that as fast as you get it, you lose it even faster if you're not doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean doing the right thing like investment. I just mean if you're not a good person, the money runs from you, man. Like I can't describe it to you. Like a lot of the fucked up dudes that you know that have bread, you don't know what they doing to keep it, is my point. The people that you see chilling and got bread and ain't worried about nothing, they've done good things in their life, whether you know it or not. You know what I'm saying? Money don't stay with fucked up people too long.
Nah, that's a fact. It's
Trust
just
me.
it's the basis of karma, bro.
I'm not saying
So
they won't get it.
yeah,
Them motherfuckers
everybody,
will
yeah,
get it. They won't keep it.
keep it. You won't be able to sustain it. And
Right.
um, so in this era of the beat stores with like Beat Stars and Airbit and all of this stuff with
I
up and
hate
coming
all of them,
producers.
man. I hate all of them. I'll keep it real with
Word.
you. I hate all of them. I just hate them because I feel like we're selling ourselves short as producers, man. Like, do you know how much money we generate in this music industry? Like, imagine a music industry with no music. No beats, no acoustic shit, no, you
Yeah,
understand? It
yeah.
couldn't exist. So when we make things like Beat Stars and this, that, and the third, and we selling beats for $50 for the lease and $100 to buy it right out, like what are we doing? Like music makes the world go around. Treat yourself like that. Don't treat yourself like,
Mm.
yo, I gotta pay my phone bill. Let me get on BeatStars and sell this beat real quick. Nah, this it ain't about that. To me, it's like you're selling yourself so short by thinking like that. I'm not saying that, some producers might say, yo, I don't have an outlet like you. Well, nigga, I didn't have an outlet at first either. You understand? Like I had to create an outlet, but that's the beauty of what we're doing is figuring these things out. How do I create an outlet? How do I build relationships? How do I make people want to fuck with me? Like this, I'm assuming I haven't been to BeatStars in years, probably.
Yeah.
My homeboy showed it to me at one point, but I'm assuming there's thousands of producers on there. Am I correct? Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So to me, it's like, what do you think is gonna happen in a pool full of like? It's just like you're one more shark added to a pool of 1,000 sharks. Like, don't you think you stand a better chance on the outside?
You still have to work on that platform as well. It's not everybody on there is not selling $5,000 worth
No,
of beats a month. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
but
So it's not like
that's the point.
yeah,
That's the point that I'm making is
yeah,
you're in the same fight over there, except you're accepting less. You're
less
better off to
for the
be in
fight.
this fight. So even if you catch one, you get more bread.
Yeah,
Because I guarantee you on BeatStars, niggas gonna try to Jew you down like, yo, you can't. Damn, bro, $70. You can't do it for 60 and just let me yo. I don't want
yeah.
to be a
That
part of that. Like, you understand? Like, I work too hard to do that now. Like, to go back to that now. You know what I'm saying? So. But to each his own, man. I don't want to crush nobody's, shit that's on there. But I'm just saying,
Yeah, I see both sides. I see both sides. I ain't gonna hold you. I do see both sides, but also coming up in the era, I was affected by stuff like that. You know, we went from I don't know what the number is now, but I know I went from getting 20,000 a beat to, you barely could get somebody to give you 1,500, 2,500 from a label because they had
right,
so much access to beats and sound click and all this other shit. And
right. But see, here's the thing too, and this is where it goes back to being off of those shits. Because
mhm,
anybody that comes to work with me, they understand. Okay, this nigga's asking for a certain amount. It's either I give it to him or I might never see him again. Because he doesn't work with everybody.
yeah,
You
yeah,
understand? If you really want to get an official Heatmakerz beat, you're in front of the guy right now. What are you gonna do? You're gonna
yeah,
miss the opportunity, and you understand. Like, so I keep it that way because if you could get a Heatmakerz beat on every corner, it ain't worth nothing.
yeah,
But people understand when I come to this dude, regardless of what he's charging, I know his work already. I'ma fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? So, and you're right. Years ago, you could say, all right, cool, 30, 40,000 for a beat, depending on the artist, and they wouldn't blink an eye and you get paid.
yeah,
Now it's more so, okay, cool, instead of 40, let me find 8 niggas that got 5.
yeah,
You understand? Like,
yeah,
that's my approach now because of the shit has changed as far as like music programs and software. I make music so fast that I don't look at it like I gotta hold on to this beat and get the most for it. Nah,
yeah,
nigga, I make too much. If
yeah,
I can get these 5 off, nigga, and get a quick 25, 30,000, cool, we good. We on to the next 5. You understand? Like, it's a
yeah.
different hustle now. I had to change my mind frame. I know some producers that still caught in the mind frame of, yo, if the nigga don't got at least 10,000, I'm not doing it. That's cool. But good luck finding the niggas that got 10 on an everyday basis. You understand? I've just been lucky enough to have like a nice clientele of people that they know my prices, they cool with it. We work on a consistent basis. I get my major label placements every now and again. I'm not even chasing that, but if it happens, it happens. And I'm good, man. I can't even lie to you. Like, I don't have any complaints. I sell music. I sell multiple beats weekly. You know what I'm saying? So I have
Got you.
no issues with shit like that.
Got you, man. That's a blessing, man, because that hasn't been the path for everybody. But I think again, something that you mentioned is how you deal with people, your relationships, how you build those things, and also being tied to a lot of great things and early on in your career. One thing I always, I've had multiple managers and different partners over the years, and I think one of the things that I didn't learn earlier on from them because I was following from them and how they were doing things. I didn't learn how to, at that time, I know now obviously, but then I didn't know how to forge the relationships and build and do all that. And
Right,
I would turn down opportunities because they were chasing a check
right,
versus, when you get in the game and you understand the opportunity might be better than the check. You know what I mean? You might take
right,
a smaller check to be on this person's album, but that album may, again, you getting
right.
money for
And
20, 30 years down the road.
you building future relationships. So it's like,
Exactly.
even if you
Exactly.
take less for this album, a good person is gonna remember that. Like, you know what? He did me a favor in this album. I got him on 3 records on the next album. And I'm gonna pay him his regular rate. You understand? Like, so to me, again, the one thing that I have learned is how to nurture relationships. Like, I'd have a bunch of people numbers in my phone. I'd only hit them when I wanted shit. Then I started to realize, like, you know what, man, like, if everybody feel the way that I feel, sometimes you got to check in on niggas' families, how you doing, like,
Yeah.
what's, you know what I mean, like,
Facts.
how you been, you why, even if you don't want shit, just so when you do need something, it doesn't seem like you're just a taker all the time. Like, I need something, I need something. It's like, nah, R checks in on me every 2 to 3 weeks to see if I'm good, if my family good. So now it makes business smoother. You know what I'm saying? But I only do that with people that I genuinely fuck with because I gotta really like you as a person to even want to keep the relationship. You know what I'm
Shit.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the relationship I had with Slay, man. Rest in peace to Slay.
That was my brother, man.
Yeah, and
Slay got me on Little Flip's album. I never forget that. I was working on Slay's album. He was like, "Yo, you did shit for Flip?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't know Flip." He's like, "Yo, hold on 1 second." He made a phone call. We was in Sony Studios. He made a phone call. He was like, "Yo," he said, "Yo," he said, Dino went and Flip downstairs. Go downstairs, play him some music. I go down to the like the basement of Sony at the time where they had like the E room and all that shit. And I remember I played Flip some shit and they bought the beat right on the spot. We did
Dope.
the paperwork like the next day or whatever, and then I
Dope.
ended up getting the money in like another 15 days or whatever. But Slay made that happen, and he didn't have
Yeah.
to. You know what I mean? Just like a
Yeah.
good dude. Slay has
Always.
always
Always.
been a good dude, man.
Always, man. He came. This when he was managed by Violator. We was in the office and he had asked for a record for. Originally, he asked, I think he said Faith and whoever. I can't remember who was going to be on it. And
Right.
I played him one beat. I didn't play him a bunch of beats. I played him one beat. He was like, "That's it." He started making the calls of who he wanted on the record. Then
And he was definitely gonna get whoever he said he was
who
gonna
he
get on that
said
record.
that's what it was, and he wound up getting A. Marie. It was Nas, A. Marie, Baby, and
That's
Foxy Brown
fire.
ended up being on the joint. Too Much for Me joint.
That's
And
fire.
I played some more beats. I went back up there, played some more beats. He said, "Look, I don't have no more." But I think Joey IE was working with him too at the time. He said,
Yeah, he managed me at one point. Joey IE and Todd Moskowitz.
Yeah. He said, "I don't have no more budget, but I need this beat." I said, "Yeah, bro, I don't know how we gonna work that out." He said, he said, "Yo, Chop, you hold this beat for me. I got you." He said, I can't pay for it right now, but I want to use it on my next album. He's doing Street Sweeper 1. He's saying, hold it to my next album. So I'm really like, bro, I don't know if we could do that like that. I don't know. But I did it anyway and it wound up being a record with him, Fat Joe, the R&B singer Joe, and Joe Button called Not Your Average Joe. And he said that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
At that time, he said, I'm going to put Joe Button. No, Joe Button wasn't hot. It wasn't even out yet. It was just Fat Joe and Joe on it originally. And then when Joe Button came out with Pump It Up, he's like, I'm going to put Joe Button on it. And everything he said, he kept his word and was always a cool dude. Always reached out to me for records, bro. So shout out to Slay, man, like that. So, I mean, bringing us up today. I mean, I know you current as current can be, but what you got going on right now? Nah, you ain't trying. You current as current
actually,
can be.
There's a project that I'm doing with probably one of I can't really say right now, but it's probably one of your favorite artists. We doing a project together, like every record, like kind of like how I did El Capo with Jim.
With Jim.
This is another artist that everybody loves, and it makes perfect sense for him and Heatmakerz to do a project together. So you'll hear about it soon enough. I just can't say it yet because he want to keep it low. But
I got you.
It's gonna be special, man. It's gonna be special. I think this might be one of my greatest works to date, man. When it's all said and done. And I said that about El Capo, people looked at me like I was bugging. But then after they heard it, they said, "Yeah, I see what you was talking about." And I think if this lines up the way that it should, then this is gonna rival that for like probably my best work. You know what I'm saying?
Word, because that is some amazing music on there. And Jim stepped it all the way up. It's kind of hard not to. If you got the right foundation musically, it's sink or swim. You know what I mean? And if you in there with somebody and you know what's right and what's good, and
me and Jim got years, man. You gotta remember, me and Jim, I've known Jim now for this makes 22 years. I've been around Jim. You know what I'm saying? So if we can't make a cohesive project after 20-something years, nigga, we don't deserve to be around each other. You know what I'm
saying? That's a fact, man. So, man, anybody out there that's trying to reach out to get that Heatmakerz sound and get with Rsonist, where they can tap in with you at, brother?
Just hit me right on the gram, man. Official Heatmakerz. Just DM me and just be serious, man. A lot of people hit you and then you tell them what you charge and they like, damn, like you can't look out. Like I'm not. I'm past the stages of trying to look out for you, man. Like I put in my work. If you can't afford it, it's cool. I don't knock anybody that can't afford it. I'm just saying that there's different levels to it. You know what I'm saying? Like when you first start playing ball, you don't play ball in the garden.
Yeah.
You got to start in the park and work your way up through all the other gyms until you get to the garden. And it's like, I did that. So now that I'm in the garden, you can't expect me to come back down to the park. And you understand? Like, so, as long as people understand that they don't look at it like I'm not trying to be nothing. I just understand the work that I put in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And your value, you know your worth and you know your value.
You've been in the game for years. You understand what you had to go through and the shit you had to deal with. So when people try to shortchange you and you say no, they can't look at you no way because you put your work in. You won't accept that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. That's facts. That's facts. All right, man. So we're going to wrap it up, man. I want to thank you and tell you I appreciate you for jumping on and doing this podcast with me, man.
Thank you
doing this episode,
me,
bro. And anybody out there, stay tuned in. check out my brother Rsonist with what he got coming. And it's real simple. As I tell everybody when I end the show off, the one thing you need to continuously do is keep checking those credits, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So we out. Peace.